Hello, my name is Bhajan Bhoy and I am here in South Cowton, which is in North Yorkshire in England, and we're standing here by the Church of St Mary's, which is an old unused church preserved by the Church Conservation Trust, and I'm here to talk about the history of the church, but more importantly also to talk about an album that I recorded here called Summer in St Mary's, a double album, more of which you'll hear about later. St Mary's stands above the water meadows of South Cowton, but the village has long since disappeared. It was mentioned in Domesday Book as Cudton, which translates as Cuthbert's settlement. And a church dedicated to St Cuthbert may have existed here at the time, but any trace of that earlier building has long disappeared, and this current structure dates from the 1450s. To the south of here, you'll see the castle, which was built by Sir Richard Conyers. When he built that castle, he decided he wanted to have a church nearby, which was within walking distance or a short horse ride away. Both buildings were erected between 1450 and 1470. And Sir Richard Conyers, who supported the House of York, had these buildings built just before the start of the War of the Roses. This church, this beautiful church, just like that castle, is really sturdy in its construction. And if you look at the inscriptions on the tower and on the chancel, you can see by the heraldry on there that the church was built by the Conyers family and the Boynton families. This is the chancel wall, and as you can see above, you can see the heraldry for the Boynton and Conyers families. Inside, the craftsmanship is superb. Stained glass, the wall paintings, the consecration crosses, and the magnificent roof. There's a porch with a barrel roof and a room above. There are strange two-faced carvings on the choir stall. Alabaster effigies of Sir Richard Conyers and his two wives, one of whom is Alice Wycliffe, can also be found in this church. When I came here in 2023 with my mum, we were doing a field trip, just having a look around interesting buildings in North Yorkshire, and discovered this church. On coming into this church, I found this organ standing here as it always has done for many years. I opened it up and saw it was a beautiful old pump organ made by the Packard company, the Fort Wayne Organ Company, who were based in Fort Wayne, Indiana, USA. This old pump organ has a serial mark on the back of it, and based on that I trace that this particular organ was built around 1875. I spent 2 full days in here playing this, composing and eventually recording. And everything that I recorded from those 2 days is now on my new double album, Summer in St Mary's.
Hello, I'm Bob Fischer and I'm a writer for Electronic Sound magazine and the Fortean Times. and Doctor Who magazine, but that's probably a bit less relevant to this. Ajay Saga is here with me, and we are in St Mary's Church at South Cowton, which is an incredible place. And I'd never heard of it, even though I live 20 minutes drive away. I'd never heard of it until you told me you'd made an album here. How did you find it?
I discovered it in the summer of 2022 when my mum and I were driving around North Yorkshire, visiting places of interest like this place.
Yeah.
And they were all tips from our mutual friend Rob Nichols, architect.
Oh.
Not architect, archaeologist.
Archaeologist.
And part-time singer
Yes.
in a band, Shrug. And he tipped me onto loads of different places in North Yorkshire. So every couple of days my mum and I would go out driving, looking for places. And this was the last discovery on that particular journey on those 2 weeks. And we stumbled across this place and absolutely fell in love with it. And it's like literally a 5 to 10 minute drive from my folks'
And you
house.
didn't know about it either?
I didn't know about it either, no.
It's a secret place, which is what I love about it. It's kind of hidden, but it's got a hidden history as well, hasn't it?
It
and
has.
You've done a lot of research into this church.
I have, yeah. Basically from that first time in 2022 when we discovered it, I absolutely fell in love with this building.
Yeah.
And then decided to read about it because this church is disused. There's no services done in here, and it's totally out of the way. You have to drive through a farm and then up a grass path, and suddenly this church appears. And so I found out the history of it, that Sir Richard Conyers built it. He built this castle just on the south side of the hill there, and then built the church, and that was built between 1450 and 1470, and it was just before the War of the Roses. So he did it deliberately, just to, he was on the house, supported the House of York, and he built the two buildings in that period just before the War of the Roses broke. So yeah, it's got an incredibly rich history.
And it has an organ.
It does.
We are sitting at the church organ.
We are sitting at the church organ.
And you've made an album on this organ.
I did, yeah. Basically, when we came here in 2022 and we walked inside, we saw this particular organ. I opened it up and I was like, wow, amazing. And the first thing I was really curious about was, does it work? So I opened up the hatch and saw it was a pump organ. So I sat down here where we're sitting here, and basically just started pumping away and hoping that it would work, and miraculously it did, and it just made the most beautiful sound ever. And a year later, that whole year I had the germ of an idea. I thought something has to be done about this. So in 2023 in the summer I was here again, and I spent 2 very, very long days in here on my own, had my packed lunch with me, got dropped off in the morning and turned my phone off, had no connection with the world. Nobody came in here for the whole 2 days, and I just sat here playing for hours and hours and hours, just getting a feel of the organ and hearing what it could do, and then just started composing ideas. And from those compositions I had my recording equipment, and I would just start recording and playing for a long time. And basically from all the tracks that were made, I narrowed it down to 8 tracks, and each track's like about 10 minutes long, and they're very meditative and repetitive and very drony, and yeah, it came out incredibly well.
You mentioned to me when we arrived here today that this place has a spirit.
It does, yes.
Has that found its way into the album, do you think?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, the alabaster effigies of Sir Richard Conyers and his 2 wives are just lying over there. I mean, from where we're sitting here, we can see them, and their spirit definitely was in here. It's really weird because I mean, sometimes when you sat in a church on your own, for 2 long days. People said, wasn't it spooky? And I was like, no, I felt really at home and I felt a part of it. And they were definitely over there listening. I definitely felt that. And
No, that is a bit spooky, Ajay.
I don't know, if I felt I was really playing for them, and I don't know, I think they really enjoyed it. It was like a private concert.
Quite right too. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful album. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I have the album here. It's by Bhajan Bhoy and it's called Summer in St Mary's. There's Ajay on the sleeve with the ghosts of Sir Richard Conyers and his wives dancing around the church. It's a beautiful piece of work and it's available from Bandcamp on June the 6th.